Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Debbie from Teacher Success Coach with another episode of Female Empowerment. Why is it I'm having? Okay. Right. I think I was having double. Now I think it's okay.
All right.
Okay, brilliant. Yes. Right. This is Debbie Eno from Teacher Success Coach with another episode of Female Empowerment, my Wednesday show, which is normally at 7:30, but we have it in the afternoon because I'm off and my guest is going to work after the session. So we just had to catch each other. So that sometimes, doing the show, which is normally 7:30, I'm quite flexible because it's important that I actually support women. Also, I'm flexible because that's the nature. As women, we are always doing things and we need to accommodate each other. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so very much for giving up your time to come on the show, because I know you're a busy doctor and it's really nice to actually take the time off to come to talk to us about empowerment and how you empower other women, etc. So if you would like to introduce yourself, tell us where you come from. And as I've already said that you're a doctor, but explain a little bit more to us in terms of,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm really glad to be here to share with the vision that you're giving us and the way you're impacting and empowering not just women, but children, adults. I'm sure men also watch your show and they've been blessed by it. Right, so my name is Dr. Tokwe Roberts. I'm originally Nigerian from West Africa. I am a doctor, a family doctor, a general practitioner is what they will call me in the UK. I currently work out of Canada, North America, as a family physician. I am a mother to a beautiful 23-year-old daughter. I am a mentor to young women. I am a published author. I've written a book about my autobiography and how I've gone from a lot of difficulties as a little girl to being a very successful entrepreneur to the glory of God. I am also a women's leader and I run a focus group for women that have survived abuse, emotional, physical, or psychological trauma. I run a support group for them. My platform, of course, is on Instagram, Facebook. It's called Chat with Dr. T. And there I talk a lot about the health of women, and not just the physical health of women, but the emotional and the mental well-being of women. That's my passion. Lastly, I believe in giving back to the community, giving back to my roots. So I do run a charity which was set up in memory of my mother, who was really the greatest woman that empowered me to be who I am and to be where I'm at today. So that charity is in her memory, and we give back health and educational services to the less privileged, usually in sub-Saharan Africa. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Fantastic. I love the fact that, you've got a charity set up in your mother's name. That's something I've actually started, focus on. And there is this book, there is a book of quotes that I've got coming out as well in honor of my mother, because we know our mothers especially are the backbone of us in terms of the support they give us, and even more so when they're single parents, because they're doing the job of a mother and father. Mine was, so therefore, anytime it's like, I just cannot explain to people the beauty of what, the mother was. And every day I think about her. Yes, she's in heaven somewhere and she's looking down on us, but every day I think about her. Her birthday was on Saturday, and there's sometimes sometimes I put something on Facebook, but on Saturday I just wasn't in the mental space, although I did a live, but I wasn't in the mental space to put something up, on her birthday. So I share where you're at with that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's always difficult. Our mothers are best friends. They're everything to us, isn't it?
Yes.
They're very patient, very long suffering, and yeah, we miss them. But like you say, they're in a better place now, and they're resting from all the hard work. Yeah.
Yes,
and
they're looking on us.
And they're looking on us, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I share that. Anyway, a doctor. Sorry, I call him a doctor instead of your name.
Okay, I don't mind. I'm okay.
Right. You say you've actually, one of the things that triggered me as well in terms of you do a platform for women in relationship to survivors of abuse.
Yes.
And that is something I feel so important, because last week I did a live, and I'm going to continue it this week, regarding women who have been abused, that it is about time that they start speaking out. Absolutely. What triggered you to start this support group for women?
Wow. Let me start from my childhood. As a child, I grew up in a polygamous home. So that means my father had more than one wife at home. And as a little girl, I actually witnessed some abuse between my parents. And that was extremely traumatic for me. When they had arguments, there was a lot of shouting, there was beatings. And that was very, very difficult for a young child to watch helplessly. So I said that was the beginning. So, and I knew in my mind that was not right. I struggled a lot with trusting and believing men for a long time. And growing up in Africa, I mean, in the 70s, when I grew up, counseling or therapy was really not a big deal. No one talked about it. Maybe you couldn't even confide in people about these things. So I had that kind of a seed, I would call it, a bad seed, witnessing abuse between my parents. And as I grew older, I saw the impact that was having on our community in the diaspora. So we've left Africa, we've moved to Europe, we've moved to the Americas, and we find that some of these things still continue. And, as children, and even now, most people would think abuse is when a guy raises his hands against you or a partner hits you. But now, of course, we know that even emotional abuse is a big deal. This is an abuse that does not leave a physical scar on you, but leaves an emotional, long-standing scar that can actually decimate a woman. It can make a woman feel so helpless. And the other thing, especially in the diaspora, is there's a lot of stigma around what women experience. And it's really hard coming from Afro-Caribbean backgrounds, coming to a strange land and trying to really find your feet and navigate your experiences. So I found a really big gap there, that who's going to listen to me, a Black woman, if I say, well, my husband doesn't hit me, but he deprives me of finances. He calls me names, he emotionally puts me down. He gaslights me. Who is going to listen to me? So I decided that, you know what, it's time for us to speak up. It's time for us to encourage other women, to empower them, to help them, to say no, not just to physical, but to emotional abuse. So looking at my childhood experiences, what I went through, even in a recent relationship, up until now, I want to use my experiences to let women know that abuse should not be tolerated. Abuse should not be tolerated, not back home, not in Africa, not in the Caribbean, and definitely not in the diaspora.
Oh my goodness, thank you. That is so powerful. And the interesting thing about that is, thank you for that, people tend to feel that when they're talking about abuse is only relationship to men, female, male, female. They fail to realize that parents abuse their children, siblings abuse each other, and the abuse go on. And for whatever type of abuse, I feel that it is so important that we should not accept it, whether or not it's a parents abusing you, it's a sibling abusing you, it's in a relationship. However the abuse, it must never be supported. And the interesting thing about that, people who abuse people, they always abuse someone who they know is vulnerable, and someone they know that they have power over. Abuse is about power. you know.
It is definitely about power, about domination, and that's the problem. Well, not a problem. I would say that's the culture coming from Africa, coming from West Africa. When we're talking about relationships now, male-female relationship, the guy is supposed to be the head. He's supposed to have the final say. You move to the diaspora and you have women going to school, getting educated, getting trained, having even higher financial powers than their spouses. That usually causes a problem because it's difficult for the spouse to actually accept that my wife earns more than me or my partner earns more than me. And so the only thing he has to fight back will be to emotionally, insult that woman. And they will continue to do it over and over and over again. And it can be extremely frustrating for women. Most women feel cornered, especially when they now have children from such relationships. It's hard for them to leave. It's hard for them to turn their backs. And we find, unfortunately, in our communities, we do not support them. They have very little support. People would always say, you know what? Oh, my mother went through worse. Do you know what I'm going through? You stay there. And we know of women that have died in the process. There was a gospel singer, I don't know if you know about her. Osinachi is her name, from Nigeria, beautiful gospel artist. And she endured abuse for so long until she was beaten up so badly. She died. She died over a year ago. Wow. Her husband would hit her, her sons would hit her. It's just unacceptable. So women have died because of this. So it's high time we start to increase the awareness and we let people know that abuse should never be tolerated. And men should also be educated. I'm not, it hurt people. So the husband that is, the partner that is emotionally or physically abusive probably has issues he's dealing with too. We need to kind of challenge the cultural beliefs, challenge the beliefs and the culture that these men have come to understand as the norm, to say, hey, no, it's okay for your wife to earn more than you. All you just need to do is hold her by the hands, support her, let her know you're there for her, and things will be fine. So I know there are groups, at least in my local environment, that are starting to talk to men, even teenagers, as young as teenage men from the Afro-Caribbean community, to make them understand how to treat a woman well, and how to recognize abuse, and how to challenge some of our cultural beliefs, so that our society will be better overall for everybody.
Thank you. That is so true, because I've been talking to my students regarding women abuse as well. Every week one woman died as a result of being abused. Every week. And it's like, this is something that people are not fully aware of. And it's on the increase. As you rightly say, one of the factors, when a woman is earning more than a man, that become an issue to his ego. And we also need to remember, it's not only in relationship, we also have siblings, we also have parents abusing the children and telling the children that, why don't you die, why you're coming home. These are some of the things, because these are some of the things I'm working with, some of the young women who come in and saying to me, could you believe it? I just come home, and the first thing my mother said to me is, oh, why did you come home? Why don't you kill yourself? Oh, here is the take some tablets, kill yourself. So all these things, it's having such a traumatic effect. And these young people have to go into school, and then when they finish, they still have to go back home to that same environment. It's horrendous when you think about it.
It definitely is, absolutely. And studies have shown that even children witnessing abuse is really bad for them. It increases their risk of drug use. It increases their risk of dropping out from school. It increases their risk of mental health problems, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, name it. So there's so many impacts that this has on our young children. So definitely it's something we need to address. And I believe everybody, each and every one of us, should do our own bit to fight this menace in our society.
Thank you. I really support that. Another thing you've said, that you used to work in the UK.
Yeah, I did. Okay. So I actually did my training to become a family doctor, general practitioner in England. I worked I went to school at Keele University and did my training in North Staffordshire. So that was really great to be able to do my training in England. And yes, I love books too. I don't know if I ever mentioned that we found a doctor that doesn't like books. So,
right.
after, while I was doing my general practice training, I actually got funding to do a bit of research in primary care. And I did that at the University of Keele. I think the last time I checked, is one of the top 10 universities in the UK. So yeah, up school.
All right.
Yeah, so I did some postgraduate studies at Keele University in England, and I did some work there in general practice and worked there for over 10 years before relocating to Canada. Yeah.
Okay. So as a woman, what was it like? As a woman physician, what was it like, trying to break through? There are two things there: a Black woman, a Black and a woman.
Absolutely. And that was extremely challenging. And I'm going to put another spin there. I was also a single parent. I had a 5-year-old daughter, and I had to navigate the system. And I'll be very, very upfront. It was not easy. But at the beginning of this discussion, we talked about mothers. And the influence and the impact that mothers had on us. I had a very strong support system in my mother. She took time out to come and be with me during my training. So that eased some of the strain that I had to face, going from my training to become a GP, having a young child. So I got some help from my family. Of course, my mom could not be there all the time. She had to go back home, but the time she was around really helped me. So having a good support system, I believe, is one of the biggest things. Secondly, is believing in yourself. Believing in your capabilities, not being limited by the color of your skin, by your race, by your accent or lack thereof, but knowing who you are. And that's one thing I encourage every woman to do. Sit and stand in front of a mirror, look at yourself and say, what's good about me? What's good about me? Because I told myself when I was in England that, hey, you went to medical school in Africa. You had no computers, you had no internet, and you did well. So you might be in a different environment, but you are a doctor as well as your other counterparts that you're in the training together. So one was self-belief, two is having the right support system, and three is knowing that hard work pays. I was not distracted. I was not distracted by even my problems. Not that I didn't realize that they were there. Of course they were there, but I didn't let that distract me from my focus of training to become a family doctor, and which I did successfully. I was able to get the right kind of people around me, apart from getting the support from my mother. Even my colleagues, I had to connect with the right kind of people. No man is an island. So I had to connect with like-minded people that we could study together, we could challenge each other, and that really, really helped. Of course, I faced racism. Of course, I faced a lot of discrimination, even during my training. But Michelle Obama says something, that when they go low, we go high. So that was exactly what I did. That if you go low, and I'll share an example during my training. I have an English name. And I remember I was sitting in the office, and a British guy came in, white, Caucasian. He knocks on the door. He sees me seated on the doctor's seat, and he asks me, I'm here to see Dr. Roberts. And I'm like, I am Dr. Roberts. And so stuff like that. It was almost like, why should you, a Black woman, be a doctor here? He didn't quite say that, but I could read it. He was a bit thrown aback when Dr. Roberts turned out to be a young Black lady that's now a GP that's going to take care of him. But of course, people also need education around that. And I would say we need to show sensitivity to people that really do not understand. But I wasn't limited by that. The other thing I would like to share with women is you need to show up. And what I mean by that is when I was in England and I showed up to work, I had my best suits on. I had the right shoes. My shoes were nice and clean. My purse was clean. You don't have to carry a designer bag. But you know, people will treat you how they see you. So if I see a Black woman that's well put together, I would ask if she's the cleaner. She doesn't look like one, and I won't treat her like one. Not that the cleaner is not important, or not that the cleaner doesn't have a role to play within the clinic or within an organization. But if you are the head, if you are the doctor, if you are the executive director, please show up as that. Even if you're not, and you plan to be there, show up as that person that you want to be. So that would be my advice for women. Show up, get the right support, get the right kind of friends, believe in yourself, never lose your focus, work hard, and don't be distracted by those little things, by those little things that will make you feel less than. Yeah.
Thank you. So, you know, can you started taking us on your journey. Can you continue in terms of,
wow,
you know?
Okay. Right. So, of course, the whole autobiography is summarized in my book, and I hope we can talk about that later.
Yes, we definitely, yes.
So I did start from my childhood, which was quite rocky, growing up in Africa, experiencing abuse between my parents. That was a lot of trauma for me. At the age of 12, I had to leave home to go to a boarding school. So I was in a boarding school for about 6 years, so very sheltered. I only went home for vacations and back to school. And at the end of that, I got into university to study medicine. That was a big feat, you know. I know it's still that way till today. Getting into medical school is never an easy feat. So I got into medical school, and yes, it was a struggle. You know, I had to read hard, study hard, and, you know, to God's glory, I did well. I graduated. I met my first husband in university. Unfortunately, the marriage nosedived, and that didn't work. And I ended up being a single mom with a 5-year-old. And things were rough and things were tough. And there was a time that I was depressed, extremely, very, very depressed. Once I almost took my own life because I was so frustrated with everything that I had gone through. But you know, what stopped me was my little 6-year-old. And I said to myself, I have to do some self-talk that, hey, if you end your life, what happens to your daughter? And that was the moment I said, you know what, no matter what life throws at me, I'm going to fight. And so I fought, and I had good friends. One of them wrote a chapter of my book, a very close friend that kept holding me by the hands and saying, hey, Topi, you can do it. You can do this. And she gave me all the support I needed. She was my counselor. She was my therapist. She was my friend. She was everything to me, you know. And so she really encouraged me, and I always give the kudos to her. So it's always important to have someone you can hold on to. So she really helped. My faith was another thing that helped me through the darkest periods of my life. And so I went through my training, faced all the challenges at work, but came through, scaled through. And I got a first job within, you know, at a general practice clinic in Clayton in Staffordshire. And after a few years, I was interviewed for a position. I didn't even know I would ever get that position. It was the post of a clinical director in a Darcy center. And I'm like, can I do this? But you know what? I gave it a shot. I went for the interview and I got the job. And so for the first time in my life, I've risen from this little girl on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, going to a public school wearing bare rubber sandals that hurt in the hot scorching sun to being the clinical director of a Darcy center in England. And so I did that job for a few years. And I was able to get the team together to really provide the best of services that we could at the time. And then I relocated to Canada. Getting to Canada was not also easy because I came here, had an older child, but I started from a very small community. So there was that big culture shock moving from a city of close to 3 million people to moving to a city with 5,000 people. So that was a big culture shock to me. But yes, I went through that 6 months and I relocated to a bigger city, not just for my sake, but for the sake of my daughter, her education and everything. And since coming to Canada, I've been able to partner with a colleague, set up a practice. Our practice is almost 10 years old now.
Oh, fantastic.
We're doing excellently well. We're happy to be able to give back. And, just aside from working as a doctor, as I said during the introduction, I've also been able to do so many other things, one of which is giving back, which is exactly what I'm doing today. Sharing my story with women out there that no matter what it is that you're going through or that you have been through, no matter what the label that the world has given to you. I mean, people gave me label, oh, she's a single mom. Oh, I hope she won't take my husband from me. Oh, maybe she's a prostitute. Oh, people called me names. I was rejected in so many ways, even in church.
Wow.
People would look at you funny because you're single and you have a little child, but nobody knows your story. But I didn't let their narrative influence me. Oftentimes I had to move, I had to walk away because there's no point sitting or putting yourself in a situation, a condition that does not benefit you or that takes from you. So I had to change churches at some point to be in a place where I was loved, accepted as a human being, not based on the circumstance or situation that I found myself in. And that's what my encouragement to women out there today is, that whatever label the world has given to you, you should never define yourself by that label. Continue to define yourself by who you are, what you have, what you've got, and what you have to give. Thank you.
Wow, that's so powerful. That actually embraces all my question I had to ask you, because it's all there. Because it's like one of the questions I was going to ask you was, what do women need to engage in order to inspire each other? Sorry. Sorry. And another one is, how do you empower yourself? How do you empower yourself and other women in your space?
Right. Can you say that question again? I didn't get it.
How do you empower yourself? And how do I empower myself in your space?
Awesome. How do I empower myself? I think the first thing is my lifestyle, is a lifestyle that I live. And especially as we grow older, we need to know that we need to be intentional about certain things. The first one, of course, being a doctor and being a woman, is your health. That's extremely important. You don't want to ignore the signs that your body gives to you. So you need to be healthy. A healthy body will give you a healthy mind. Having a healthy body means getting your checkups regularly. It means exercising. It means drinking lots of water. And then how do you make your mind healthy is putting the right things in your mind. I remembered when computers first came out and we had to be writing commands. I don't know if you remember those days. We had to write commands. And there's something they call GIGO, GIGO, which is garbage in, garbage out. So it is what you put in yourself that you become. If you wake up in the morning and all you do is grab a phone and scroll through for 5-6 hours of your day, that's what you're putting in, and that's what you're going to get out. So you got to ask yourself, what do I want to put in my body? What do I want to eat? What do I want to drink? Do I want to exercise? So you need to start with that. So if you have a healthy body and a healthy mind, then you can start to give of that you have. So being intentional about what we do in your work, being punctual, in your career, always aiming to be better. I talk about side hustles. Yes, I'm a doctor, I see patients, I get paid for that, but I always think, is there anything else I can do? I sew in my spare time. I don't sew for money anymore. I used to. So I remember when I was in college, in university, I would go to the market, I'll get fabrics and I'll cut it up and I'll make some nice boo-boos, I'll make some nice gowns. I learned to do that. In fact, my mother made me learn to sew. And I'm like, Mom, I'm in medical school. She said, you should always have a plan B. So always have a plan B, women. Don't think your 9-to-5 job is going to be enough for you. If there's something else you want to do, and it might not be a trade, not everybody loves to buy things and sell things. It might be learning a skill. It might be, registering yourself for an online course. These days, you can get courses for as low as $10, $20 on Udemy, and you can learn a lot. I took a course there on coaching and mentoring. It didn't cost me $100, and I had a lot of materials. So in order to start to empower people, I think you need to be empowered. And I don't know if this was a plan, but my mug here, I don't know how clear it is. It says, empowered women empower women. That's what's on my mug. Okay. Empowered women empower women. So we can only empower other women if we are empowered ourselves. And being empowered involves knowing who you are, staying healthy in your body and your mind, and then learning, improving, and then you have enough to give to other women.
Oh my goodness, that's so powerful. Thank you so much. That is so powerful. That is so powerful. Thank you. You also said that you wrote a book.
Yes.
Right.
I wrote a book, and I actually have a copy of the book with me today. I hope it's okay to share it.
Sure, of course.
It's called Still I Rise, a story of 3 generations of victorious African women. And it's actually my biography. In that book, I talked about my mother, who lived in a polygamous home as the other wife, the second wife. I remembered my mom used to refer to herself as the third eye. And she would say, a third eye has no place. So even though my father was there physically, he wasn't really there for us emotionally. He would give you your school fees, but that was it. So mom would have to go get your provisions, get your uniforms, get your suitcase, get you to the park, to get you to school. So my mom navigated all of that. So I see her as the first line of the victorious woman in my book. Navigating all of that, she had 8 children, and she had to single-handedly take care of all of us. My father helped the best he could and the best he knew how to, but that was all. He gave us all an education, and we owe that to him, but my mom was the one that was the emotional support that we needed. And she gave that to all of her children. I'll be forever grateful to her, and I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have been in England if not for my mother. I probably wouldn't have been able to cope during my training to become a general practitioner if not for my mother. So I owe a lot to her. The second person in this generation is myself. I've already shared a bit of my story here during this interview today. And in my book, I write the details of that and how I navigated some of the most difficult times of my life. One, in the book, I talked about single parenting. How do you parent your child as a single mother? I shared a lot of tips and tricks with other women, how I navigated my own journey as a single mom and how I raised a very wonderful daughter, which takes me to the third level or layer of my book. The third generation is my daughter, who at the age of 3, my relationship with her father broke down, and I had to take care of her. And I remembered for about 17 years, she had 0 contact with her father. And that really, really traumatized her. And through all that, this little girl navigated all of that. This little girl was able to get into university at the age of 15 to study. Yeah, she graduated from secondary school with honors. She got into university and studied engineering and mathematics and graduated with distinction. So I'm a proud mother. And my daughter is full of wisdom. The fact that she was raised in a single parent home. Yes, she had her challenges and she has needed therapy. So I'm not saying I raised a perfect child, but I raised a child that I can be proud of. And I raised a child that was able to navigate growing up in a home with just her mom. And I'm sure you can relate with this. With just her mom, and still being able to do well academically and in so many other aspects of her life. I feel it's a success story. I know it's a success story.
Exactly.
And I know there's so many women out there that will be encouraged by the story that I share in my book.
Brilliant. Oh my goodness.
The book is available on Amazon. It's actually also, there's a Kindle version. It would really encourage you.
That's fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to get the link and then drop it, because as I said to you before, I've had at least 5 or 6 women who've been on my Wednesday show, especially talking about the book. And in August, September, I'll be having everybody to come, like a show for themselves to talk about the books, because it's important that we discuss a book and where it's, where it is, etc., so that people know what we do and how much what we do could empower them. That's brilliant, 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 brilliant. Okay, we're almost towards the end of the show. And one of the questions which I'm going to ask you is, what can we as women do to empower younger women? Because I teach young women, right? Because I see young women 5 days a week as a teacher. So as young women, as women ourselves, what can we do to empower the younger generation?
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think the first thing is not by what we do alone, that's important, but by who we are. Let's never forget that these children are watching. They are watching your poise. They're watching your language. They're watching the way you dress. They're watching the way you relate with other people. So we need to be an example. We need to do things that these young girls will see and will be proud of, that they will see and say, I want to be like this person. So are you okay?
I have got hay fever, right? So every minute I'm sleeping.
Okay, all right. So basically, we need to be that example to the children, to the younger generation. Secondly, we need to look at our spaces and find how we can be an impact. So when I say look at your space, look at your community. It might be your church family, your mosque family, even on your street, a community group that you belong, where there are young children. And there's nothing wrong in taking one little girl under your wings and mentoring that girl and saying, hey, how are you doing? And most people say, I'm fine, and they're back on their phone. But you should say, give me 2 minutes. I mean, how are you really doing? And let them know that you're ready to listen to them. Let them know that you're not going to judge them. Because, I look around me now and I look at young girls and I'm like, my God, maybe I'm old, but things are so different. So we must not come from a place of judgment. We shouldn't come from a place of saying, oh, they have rings everywhere, that makes them terrible. No, we should still love them. We should still be able to bring them under our wings and say, you know what? Big Auntie is here for you. You can discuss with me. And I've had children, teenage girls reach out to me and discuss things they won't even discuss with their mother, because they feel comfortable to know that there is an auntie that has their back. There is a woman out there that can take care of them. We can also get involved in mentoring formally, which is something I do. So we do have an organization here called the Black Chambers Professionals. It's a professional group for Blacks in Canada. And what I did was to join the group, and they would assign someone to you to mentor. And I've really, really enjoyed doing that. And since COVID, of course, we can do this virtually. So it might just be 30 minutes to an hour of your time, once a month, twice a month, to talk to a young girl, to ask her how she's doing, to see how she is doing with her academics, what her plans for her future, could be, to ask about if she's driving. I mean, my current mentor, we actually talked about how she's going to learn to drive. So things that, basic and simple, and it's good. Because when we pass this on, then we're creating a culture such that when those young girls also grow up, they feel they should pass it on to the next generation. And the world just becomes a better place for all of us.
Thank you. It's interesting when you say that in terms of, the question asking, how can we empower young people? And one of the things you say, you need to check how you dress, etc. And that is so true. As a teacher, every day, my students clock onto what I'm wearing. Every day, they will say to me, Miss, you're wearing red. You look as a strawberry, right? Or you're always matching. And it's like, oh, the students look at me every day. They would clock on what I'm wearing. And as soon as I enter the school, right, and I'm walking up the stairs, tired because I'm probably running from the train station, or my bag is heavy, sorry, and I'm walking up the stairs. I don't see them because I'm walking my back to them because they're sitting on the other side and able to say, hi, miss. And I said, wait for me to get in. Oh, miss, you're wearing this. You're wearing green today. It looked like grass. And it's like, really? Oh, and you don't, they're saying to me things like, you don't repeat your clothes. I said, what's wrong with you guys? So actually, my student, there's something else. This is the school I teach in different schools because every year, because I'm a supply teacher, every year I teach in different schools. Right? Okay. This school is the one that the student seems to pay attention to me more than all the other schools I have been to. The other school, they would look, they say, oh yes, miss, I like you, but this, they're actually telling me, oh miss, we've never seen you with this. Oh, you don't repeat your clothes. I say, hold on. I say, you guys are looking at every detail. So when you say about what we wear is important, it is, because they're able to tell me that, oh miss, you're wearing a red lipstick with all red. Really? Really? It is. And, it really made me think in terms of how much we have to be so conscious of what we say, what we wear, and how we wear it, and how we are able to connect with them, because I'm making students because one of the subjects I now teach in this school is sociology, and I'm meeting them on the street and they're saying to me, oh, hi, miss, and they're connecting sociology topic on the street. I said, what is wrong with you guys? And it is, it is so interesting what you say, because another student told me on Friday, miss, you've only started in this school in January. Do you realize how much you've made an impact? I said, really?
Yeah.
Yes, miss. Yeah. And I'm saying, oh, and I said to them, oh my goodness. I said,
you don't even know. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm saying to them that sometimes I'm walking up the stairs, coming into the building. I said, before I actually enter, you guys are shouting me. Let me just come in first before you shout me. And one of my colleagues said to me, oh, well, that's really nice. I said, okay, on one hand, it's really nice, but on the other hand, it's tiring. It's tiring, because it's like the students relying on you, because one day I was in late and it's like they were all waiting for me. Miss, we thought you were going to come back. Oh my goodness. Miss, and don't do that. But you see, they're relying on us, and these young people are relying on us. Yeah. And it's like what you say is so important. We need to make sure that we are giving them the right role model, because they connect with us.
They do. And of course, what we do has to match with what we say. Exactly. Because if you're trying to mentor somebody and you're saying, do this, and they don't even see you do any of that in your life, then you can't empower them, because they won't believe in you, because your life hasn't shown or manifested any reason why they should believe in you. So it's really important that we show up. We show up. Again, I mentioned this earlier during the interview, that as women, we must show up, because people are watching.
It is. And, you know, especially if we're in young people's life, as you as
Mhm.
a doctor, me as
Yeah.
a teacher, and
Mhm.
parents, we have to show up because they are relying on us.
Mhm.
And
Very
it's
true.
more so now than ever before because it's like I'm finding it more so now in this school I'm in, how much the students are so relying on us as teachers in the school.
Yep. Yep.
It's
And don't
like,
forget, some of these kids don't even have role models at home.
yeah,
They don't
yeah,
have role models. They have nobody else. So it's
yeah,
you.
yeah,
You're not just teaching, you're parenting
yeah,
without knowing,
yeah.
so we
Yeah,
should show up.
yeah, it is so important in terms of showing up. And I must say, this is something I'm going to constantly repeat in terms of we need to show up. And I say to students, the same way you guys are expecting me to show up, I expect you guys to be in my lesson as well, because I'm giving you guys this extra. And it's so
Exactly.
interesting what you say. This is so powerful. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. Three more. This is the last one. What
Okay.
three suggestions can you give women to enable them to empower themselves?
Wow. Right. Let's start with this. Number one, you got to believe in yourself.
Mhm.
You have to believe in yourself to empower you. The second thing is never shy away from being a better version of yourself. And what I mean by that is whatever it needs you need to do to improve yourself, you should do it.
Mhm.
Thirdly, you should get a mentor or someone that you can look up to, someone that you can ask questions, someone that you can bounce ideas off. I believe that would help you. Even at this stage of my life, I still have people I look up to. I still have people that I that mentor me, whether directly or indirectly. I have people, usually older, more mature women, that I've watched their life and I've seen where they've how far they've come and what they've done. And I've seen their lives as an inspiration. I've gone to them, I've asked them questions. And I mean, no man is an island and we cannot know everything. So
Mhm.
always be ready to learn. Have a teachable spirit. If you do
Mhm.
all of that, you will definitely be empowered and be
Mhm.
able to empower other people.
Mhm. Mhm. There's one more question. This is the last one. How do you think schools, colleges, and other educational institutions can empower young people?
Wow. So we were just, what was it we were talking about before we came on the show? We were talking about cell phones in
Yes.
classrooms. And
Yes.
so, of course, every country, every nation will be different. The rules and legislation in all these different places are there. But within our schools and within educational institutions, I believe we should have programs that would help different communities. I mean, we live in a world now that is multi-ethnic, multicultural. So, and I know that in most institutions, there will be opportunities for people to be connected in one way or the other to one community. And I believe that that would help them. That would help to give them the necessary education that they need. It would help to give them the necessary skills that they will need to survive and to be empowered in their educational facilities. And maybe it's time to I mean, when I was in school, this was donkey years ago, we had groups where we learned a lot. I was in the Girls Guide, for example, and the Girls
Yeah.
Guide will teach you a lot of things, that would help you later in life and all whatnot. So I believe there's such groups these days, even if they're not all face to face. I'm sure there are groups online that people can join and people can learn from to be empowered. And over time, maybe schools and colleges can start to put that in the curriculum.
Mhm.
How, even if it's once a week, to have
Mhm.
sessions where women and men, boys and girls can learn what empowerment means, what that is for them, and how they can be empowered, not just while they're in school, but for their future.
Mhm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, before we say goodbye, is there anything else you want to say?
No, just to say a big thank you for having me here. And yes, I hope someone out there has been able to pick one or two things that they can run with And thank you for the opportunity. I'm grateful.
Thank you for accepting the offer to put me in your busy schedule. I'm really appreciative of that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Yes,
You bet.
thank you, Facebook, for you guys being there. And I'll see you guys on Friday, where I have the homeschool. I've got another homeschool educator who will be talking about her journey coming on to homeschooling her children and what the challenges and the triumphs are. And on Saturday, I have another female educator across the world. I can't remember where she come from. That'll be talking about what it's like going back into the classroom after COVID. As we were just talking about, one of the challenges the American schools are having is the cell phone, because the parents are saying that due to a lot of shooting going on in the American school, that children have to have their cell phone. Whereas in the UK, the parents know, we send them letters that cell phone is not accepted in schools, especially from year 7 to year 10. If they have it, they need to make sure that we don't see it as teachers. And from year 11 to year 13, they know that if they have it, we don't need to know it's there. Right? And even sixth formers, they cannot have the phone on them in the corridor in the classroom. It's a no-no. So, you know, for us in the UK, it is not so much of a challenge as it is in other countries. So these are some of the things teachers talk about, what the challenges are. And I tell you, the behavior is also a big one too. Anyway, guys, take care, stay blessed. Have a fantastic evening, night, morning where you are. And thank you very much for listening on. And I'll see you guys on Friday.
Thank you.